Peter Guber, author of Tell to Win, Hollywood mogul insider. Peter Scott Fitzgerald, who had been down and spent some time in Hollywood, famously said that there are no second acts in American lives. But you've had second, maybe third act now, perhaps a fourth or a fifth act. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? Tell me the story of the rest of your life.
You know, I've had an enormous amount of incoming, and I thought there'd be a moment where I could stop with the incoming. In other words, I went to universities and graduate schools forever, read forever, curious like that forever. I said, okay, now it's time for outgoing. And I realized, oh my God, I had just really begun the incoming. So the incoming now, for me, learning and being curious is the signature element of my life. In other words, the reason why I teach is because I learn. If I didn't teach, I wouldn't learn. And when people teach and don't learn, that's a bad teacher. Because you have to learn from your students. You have to bring something new to them all the time, the unexplained, and recognizing you don't have the answer is the core of teaching. It's the idea of being able to look at things in companies, in organizations, in universities. So I'm still on a learning path. And I've changed its trajectory from this to this because I don't have as much time. So I try to consume as much as I can about the world, about my experience in the world, and then digest it and then frame it back to coaching and mentoring other young people, especially in the arts or in business, that there are tools that they can use. And one of the things about teaching is that you can be purposeful. You can really engage students, graduate students, undergraduate students at the university level in very serious ideas and thoughts, and be safe in the fact that you don't have the answer. That's a great space to live in. And I live in that space. I love that space. And for me, not knowing the answer to something isn't threatening. It's the beginning of my quest. And I'm okay. It took me a lot of years to recognize that failure is an inevitable cul-de-sac on the road to success. I mean, it took me a lot of years to really recognize it and realize that. So these tools and experiences I learned and have the hard way and some the easy way, I like to be able to turn it around and be able to use them at the university level in my companies as methodologies and tools to help people get more joy out of their business, get more joy out of their life, get more experience and value from their business propositions. And so I spend time with people that I'm in business with to engage them on an emotional level. I look at that as a very important quality because we are emotional characters. And if I want you to consume an idea or grasp an idea or take on a product or do a business enterprise, I realize that the information, data, and analytics are crucial. They're very important, but they're not memorable, resonant, and actionable. They're just crucial. How do you do it? You bond it with emotion. That's why when you have an emotional relationship with some other person, even in business, you always have some emotion in it, and you enjoy them and you like them, you build trust, you build a quality of opportunity that's completely different than transaction. So like in the business school this last semester, I taught with the dean of the business school at UCLA. We brought the best and the brightest in, from Will I Am to Larry King, to Ken Kressa, to Patrick Soon-Shiong, the famous entrepreneur in medicine. We brought these different people in. And the continuity of experience across them as we coached these 120 students was phenomenal. I learned more than I taught. But the continuity of experience was elements of passion and how to ignite it, elements of tenacity and how to stay with it, not being risk averse. We have a lot of people in this country who are completely risk averse. They haven't tested how good they can be in any area, whether it's the family area, whether it's the business area, or it's the church area. And if you can encourage them, you can encourage people to recognize that they operate so far from the end of the spectrum where failure is, because they're trying to protect themselves. They're so far from it that they're never going to realize their full success. And if they fail, it's only an opportunity to learn and get up. The failure is not getting up. Muhammad Ali, who I did his first film, his second film, King of the World, with David Remnick book. His first film was the greatest. And then the third film, when I was at Sony, just as I left, we bought the rights for it, which became Ali, said to me, he really learned about boxing when he really got knocked down and almost got knocked out. He realized he could get up. It was an incredible lesson from him. It wasn't the end. It wasn't the end of the beginning. It was the beginning of the beginning. He realized that in his life, that being afraid of being knocked down wasn't being as good as you could be. You know, as long as you knew you could get up. And the idea is we don't teach that in school. We don't coach that in school. You know, failure is like, oh my God, you know, there's an anathema to it. Rather than looking at it and saying, hey, that person really took a risk and took a chance. What can we learn from it? How did he learn from it? So the idea in our lives, look at our country, our whole country. So much of it in our politics and our social behavior is risk averse. We're not really taking chances. We're repeating the old models. And look at the country creatively. Remakes, sequels, tentpoles, franchises, do-overs, prequels, every kind of thing you want. Where's the Renaissance? In all the areas. Broadway looks like the West Side Story, and this one, the East Side Story, and the West Side Story, East Side, and then North Side. I mean, come on. Let's be really, let's test our limits. Let's grow culturally and emotionally, and that becomes a strategy that a government, you know, if a government and a country doesn't adopt, stops growing. And a country that stops growing is going. So I believe, my own view is, that the thing that we're engineered to do is to take chances. The thing we're engineered to do is to use our ability to work together, because nobody can do it alone. And the real core tool in working together is being able to tell your story purposefully, to ignite their passion and their involvement, so that you get the best of all people. Look what these networks, these social networks do when they work together. They're smarter than all the engineered. The group, the crowdsourcing of it is smarter. It's proof of the process. It's smarter than the smartest person who writes it down. So there's something really true in that. But if we understood that inside us lives the crowd too. So that's what I try to do.